While Newark's radar troubles highlight America's infrastructure challenges, another travel crisis is unfolding. Foreign tourist numbers to the United States are plummeting, with analysts pointing to President Trump's recent tariff policies and immigration rhetoric as key factors. And economists are warning that could cost the country a notable chunk of its GDP. Okay, and joining us to talk more about this, Michael Taylor. Michael is the Senior Managing Director of Travel, Hospitality, Retail, and Customer Service at J.D. Power. Michael, good to see you again.
Yeah, thanks, Sean.
Okay, let's pick up. We got to talk about what's going on at Newark Airport. I was there last week, and it was a mess just trying to pick up family members trying to get in there. Now, with these significant air traffic control problems that are going on, I mean, losing radar for 90 seconds in that busy airport, it has to be terrifying for the individuals in the air traffic control area. What about travelers? You think people are going to be worried going to that airport?
Actually, yes, they probably will. This is just a kind of a highlight of what's been going on with the FAA for decades. The hardware problem that they're experiencing in Newark isn't anything new, I'm sorry to say. The FAA is probably the slowest moving bureaucracy that the United States has, and they haven't upgraded their systems for many decades. They use a great deal of outdated equipment, and maybe this is just the kind of emergency we need to spur them along to actually get into the 21st century.
Wow, that's a sobering way to look at it. Okay, let's move on from that. But we still have sour consumer confidence, chiefly over tariff uncertainty. People aren't spending a lot of money right now. So what is this doing to spring and summer travel?
Yeah, I think your previous reports are right on the nose that we're seeing quite a downturn, especially from our neighbors to the north. Canadians really are trying to avoid the United States and kind of skipping over the country and going to Mexico at the moment. And so there really is a downturn in short-term leisure travel into the United States at the moment.
Okay, but what about people within the U.S. as well? Because they are holding on to their money. They know that prices are going to go up. They know that shelves could become bare pretty quickly. So how is that affecting travel? I know it's early in the year, but how do you think that's shaping up?
Yeah, there's nothing in the tariffs at the moment that directly affects travel. It really has to do with people's moods.
Right.
Do they think they have the disposable income to travel within the United States? And we actually saw this downturn before tariffs were even a topic of discussion. The era of revenge travel, as people have termed post-pandemic travel uptick, is probably over. As Herb Stein, the economist, used to say, if it's too good to last, it won't. And I believe that we've kind of come to the end of the rope for the airlines charging so much for tickets. They really had a lot of inflation in airfares, and people are saying, okay, I'm going to pause my travel a little bit here. I believe that's actually what we're seeing with the addition of some nervousness over tariff talk.
Well, okay, let's look at how the first quarter of this year has gone so far. What are people doing? Where are they going?
International travel, outbound from the United States is still somewhat of a bright spot. The last report that I saw was up about 5%. And that would kind of counterbalance what they were seeing on the domestic side. That's for U.S.-based airlines, by the way. Those are usually higher ticket prices and also better margin seats traveling to international destinations for airlines. So that's helping with their bottom line and matching a little bit of the loss they're getting on the regular domestic travel. You're actually going to see middle seats be more empty this summer than you have in the last 4 summers.
Interesting. Okay, I'm going to keep talking about Americans traveling abroad because I went abroad recently and I was treated very well, but everybody wanted to talk about Trump. They wanted to talk about the tariffs. They wanted to know why the U.S. was doing this. Are people concerned about traveling abroad?
Oh, yeah. I had the same experience. I went to Ireland a few weeks ago, and I don't think there was any Irish person I met that didn't talk about Trump and tariffs. And they were wondering what's going on. And that's really kind of adds to the universal nervousness that we see during these trade negotiations, which hopefully will be over soon. Travelers usually have a very short memory, at least in my experience of doing this for 25 years. They tend to get over the shock of things like air crashes and 9/11 and that kind of thing pretty quickly, and I expect that actually to happen with this as soon as we get some trade deals going.
Yeah, I think people still have these bucket lists of things they want to see and they want to do. Let's kind of segue into local tourism boards. I presume that you're in touch with them on occasion. What are those folks doing to encourage people to look beyond tariffs, look beyond America first, and
Yeah.
be as welcoming as possible.
Yeah. Well, the one I'm most familiar with is California. California loves Canada, which is the state of California actually having messages, basically ads and internet ads targeted to Canadians to say, "Hey, come on down to California. We still really like you," and that I don't know if that has. It's only been going on for a couple weeks now, so I don't think it has much effect yet. But it would be interesting to see if there were more Canadians going to California rather than going to Florida, where they usually go.
Yeah, Michael, real quickly, I have one quick question for you. Right before I came out here, a colleague showed me this article on this boutique airline that flies to like Paris and Milan, and it's basically business class for a pretty reasonable price. Do you think that that kind of thing is going to take off? Because you know what, it got my attention.
Well, this has been tried before. There's nothing new under the sun, and we've had all business class airlines that operated for about 2 years, and then they just couldn't find enough people to fill those seats. And plus, it's a really expensive proposition to have all business class seats in an aircraft. I wouldn't expect, if history is any guide, I don't expect it to last, to tell you the truth.
Okay, you just popped my bubble on Friday night here, Michael Taylor.
Yeah, sorry about that.
No, thank you, my friend.
Have a good weekend anyway.
Always good insight in from you. Thanks again.